Hello, everyone. My name is Dina Buck, and I serve as Virginia's ACT Early Ambassador from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And I'm really grateful to have a chance to talk with you a little bit about how we can do parent-engaged developmental monitoring using the new and updated developmental milestones from the CDC. If you've used these materials before, and I hope that you have, and I want to thank all of you for your commitment to using these materials and resources in a variety of different formats and structures in your early intervention, early childhood systems. I just wanted to show you what the new materials look like. So on the left is the Milestones Tracker app. And if you have not downloaded that yet, I would certainly encourage you to do that. It's a great tool and resource. In the middle is what the new Milestones checklists look like. And on the right is what the new Milestones Moments booklet looks like. I know many of you use these every day in your work with families, and I just wanted you to see what they visually look like. I just wanted to start just very quickly by reminding all of us that we will do our best at supporting the early identification of children who may need early intervention or early childhood special ed when we combine good developmental monitoring with developmental screening. So both of those activities together become really important in our early identification efforts. The materials I'm talking about today from Learn the Signs Act Early are used for developmental monitoring. So that purpose adds then is supported through developmental screening and gets a really good way for children to be identified as early as possible. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has updated all of the Milestones resources that come through the CDC's Learn the Signs Act Early campaign in the last year or so. This process actually started in 2019. All the new materials were released on February the 8th of this year of 2022. So know this is a process that's been in development. These were a few of the reasons that they knew that they needed to make the update. One of those had to do with the fact that in the kind of old way, there were not checklists at 15 months and 30 months. So what that meant is there were checklists, for instance, at 2 and 3, but nothing that was capturing the development of children at 30 months of age. So the other thing is that some of the items were vague. They would say things like, is beginning to, or may do something. And that was hard for folks to know when to take action. There also was lack of clarity about how many milestones should a child not be meeting and that still be of concern. So the CDC updated the materials and they chose as a target threshold things that 75% or more of children are typically doing at that age. So in the previous materials, and I'll show you a sample in just a minute, but there was some information about what kind of most kids do, and that was at about the 50 percentile. And then there were things that were red flags. So instead, by shifting the focus to things that most kids, and that most being 75% or more, gives us a better indicator of children that may, in fact, need to have a developmental screening done. If you're interested in learning about the whole process of the review, I encourage you to look at this article from Pediatrics. In the materials that are going to be accompanying this video, there's also the actual PDF of this article is included, and I encourage you to read it. It's very informative. So here's what the difference is. So on the left-hand side is what they used to look like, and on the right-hand side is what they look like now. So on the left-hand side, you'll notice there was a list of items, and then in the box, there was kind of red flags, things to talk to your doctor about. Where people didn't know what to do, though, is if there's things on the left they're not yet doing, is that of concern? Or should I only pay attention to these things on the right? And so in this review process and discernment, the group, the strategic group through the American Academy of Pediatrics came up with this revised structure that really only includes those things that we would want to have as red flags, that these are things that 3/4 of kids would typically do at this age. And if a child is not yet doing those, then that would be an indicator that we need to talk to the child's physician, have a developmental screening done, and may in fact also need to reach out to our early intervention, early childhood special ed systems. The other nice changes are that the booklets, and we're talking a minute, they have added some really good open-ended questions that would encourage families to talk with their physicians about their concerns. I just wanted to show you a couple, just as an example. For instance, these are some things that were changed. Some were changed to older ages, some were changed to earlier ages, and some were added. In fact, 65 new milestones were added. The other thing that they did, though, at the same time is reduce the duplication. There were several things that were in multiple checklists and multiple domains. That was all also clarified. I mentioned before, I really like these open-ended questions. I think they're really helpful. There's also a very defined way of saying this is early intervention is available and how to get connected to that. The other part that's really nice in the revision is that they've expanded the hints and strategies to promote development that are on the backside of each checklist, and they're also in the Milestones Tracker app. Some of the things that were the realities of this process that I just wanted to make sure we had acknowledged is that the data that currently exists about child development is often, there would be information about just developmental milestones that have been used in the field for a long time, those that informed tools, for instance, but they often cited each other, and the group really went back to look at primary research. They also found that there were times where the actual developmental item at its literature review might have been between the 9-month and the 12-month checklist. So they used the expertise of the team to align those in the best way possible, where at least 75%. There also were concerns that have been raised by some folks in the field that some items were not included this time. And so some of those having to do with large motor development. There were also some concerns identified about language milestones. The CDC has encouraged people to share their feedback with them. They, I know, are in conversations with professional organizations to learn more about concerns. And if you do have information that would be useful in that review, they're encouraging us to submit that to the CDC. I do think it's important to remember what these materials are for and what they're not for. These are intended to be used for family engaged developmental monitoring. They include key milestones, but it's not a comprehensive list. They are also not intended to be used as a developmental screening tool or diagnostic information gathering. We also really need to pay attention to how we are using these with our primary referral sources and families. So you guys are in a unique position to share these with our partners and collaborators so that as many families as possible know about these resources and they're able to use them for ongoing developmental monitoring. I think it's helpful also to remember that this update of these materials will not impact existing developmental screening or evaluation tools. It's a question I've been asked before, and that is certainly not intended to happen. This also will not impact policy or programmatic decisions in Virginia or other states, particularly related to definitions of eligibility. What I think is going to happen by these updated materials is that there will be better clarity of the items. It will create a capacity for people to share their concerns with their physicians, families to share their concerns, and with early care and education professionals. We also should have a limit in the times where we have wait and see as the approach. I think when we had the previous structure where there were things that most kids did, and that being 50%, and then that box of red flags, was a lack of clarity for people about when to take action. And so by increasing this focus on these are the key items that at least 75% of kids typically do this thing at this age, should in fact create more of a conversation earlier with the kids that we have probably been missing. So I encourage that to happen in our systems. It also encourages a focus on screening as the next step, and it also lays a foundation and lets families know that early intervention exists and early childhood special ed, should they be interested in that. And then for sure, these updated information and strategies for families about how to promote development are really going to be valuable for all of us. So if you're interested in learning more about this review, my colleague, my Act Early Ambassador colleague, Kate Barlow, has done a really nice short video about the process. I encourage you to watch that. I also have prepared a resources document that will be included as a connection from this website, from this video. I've also included in that site the Q&A document that the CDC has put together about the update. And I've also included a link to the Pediatrics article. What I'd really love for you to do, though, is go visit the CDC's Learn the Signs Act Early website, explore the materials that are there, give some thought to how you can share those through your world and through your networks so that the families that have really young children have access to good quality information about child development, how they can encourage their children's development, and how they can act early if they have any concerns. The Help Me Grow and 0 to 3 have done some pretty strategic analysis and putting together some information that also explains these updates, and I encourage you to check out those resources at these links. And then always, you're welcome to contact me. Here's my information for my email and my phone. I'd love to be able to answer any questions that you have. And thank you so much for spending this time with me learning about the updates, and I look forward to speaking with you soon.